Well, is Onyx cooking again? Well, it seems that way to me because Onyx recently made a post saying how the developers are cooking, but they say this time it's for a different update. Let me explain what this is, even though nothing I say is financial advice, and even though I'm not telling anyone to do anything, this is just purely my perspective. But besides that point, when it comes to Onyx, not too long ago they said the developers are cooking. Now, they already talked about something regarding cooking in the past, but they're talking about how, again, it's for a different update. They're talking about in regard to the wallet. However, very shortly after they made that post, they talked about how Goliath to Ethereum and Ethereum to Goliath bridging is now live. And they're talking about that being live directly when it comes to the wallet. So when I take a look at that right there, people like to tell me, well, how is that interesting? Well, it's because if we take a look at Ethereum, of course, it's a very massive layer 1 blockchain. From what I can see right there, I think the developers are clearly cooking because, they've been, I guess, mixing the stew, cooking some chicken pot pie because there have been some updates. That's kind of the analogy that I would like to put when it comes to that. Also, let's just take this into consideration. Did you know that not too long ago, Onyx announced how there was over 6.3 billion XCN that was being locked up through Ethereum and Goliath on their app, basically, which I found very impressive. I mean, if I think about that right there, first of all, it's not in terms of the dollar amount. Like, if we take a look at, okay, there's around 6.3 billion. The total supply when it comes to XCN is around 48.5 billion. I mean, yeah, 6.3 billion is over 10% of 48.5 billion approximately, but it's nothing really like too, I think, impressive. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's not bad that I'm seeing those statistics, I think, in my opinion. Now, people like to say, well, take a look at the price charts when it comes to XCN. Yeah, I get it. People like to say, well, it's not doing the best. Yeah, I agree. It isn't doing the best. But at the end of the day, I mean, do I have so much to complain about? It's still ranked 146th in the world. It's not like it became like the 5th, 100th ranked project or whatever. Still holding up pretty okay. I mean, if we take a look at, like, let's say Onyx back in 2024, if someone at that point said, oh, you know what? It's going to be ranked 146 one day, right? Would a lot of people really believe it? I don't know if too many would. And my concern isn't waiting. I mean, I'd gladly wait. That's the least of my concerns. My major concern is if I'm waiting for a project and it does nothing. That's when I'd be really concerned. That's when I don't want to wait anymore, because if it's doing nothing and let's say the developers or in some cases the team, let's say, doesn't care anymore, yeah, then I'm out at that point. There's no point for me to even care anymore, I think, if that is the case. Now, if let's say Onyx could just go back to where it once was in 2025 at around a billion in terms of market cap, which were clearly over 5 times over than that, I have nothing to complain about. Again, I'm not looking for the next big microcap. That's not my style. And the thing is, again, if let's say something like Onyx, I still see some activity, then I don't mind. That's just personally for me. Waiting, it's like, who cares? I think that's just my perspective, because I knew that I was probably going to have to wait for quite a while anyways. So now that I'm waiting, it's like, it is what it is. And I think the developers really treating Onyx this seriously, I think it showcases something, because if they didn't have conviction, if they didn't care about the project, I don't know if they would still be updating like that. But even besides that point, not to mention, people like to tell me that, oh wow, what makes you think that Onyx could even ever come close to where it once was last year? However, of course, I'll never be able to know for sure if it could ever go back to that point. But I'm just saying, if I take a look at Onyx back then at around a billion in terms of market cap, it wasn't like it was an altcoin season, in my opinion. And I feel like Onyx, in terms of fundamentals, is just way better right now than before. If we take a look at it before, there was no mainnet when it comes to Goliath. I feel like back then a lot of people just kind of thought it was this somewhat smaller version, basically, of Ripple or Stellar, in a sense where it's focused on the same markets pretty much, but it just had a way lower market cap, which it still does. But I think back then that was kind of the major driving factor. But I feel like right now, it's just more solid, fundamentally speaking, when compared to before. Before, what it did, it was just kind of purely driven off of, I think, to a large extent, a lot of people being reminded of Ripple and Stellar to a certain extent when it comes to this. But I think now Onyx has kind of come to its own, right? In a sense where it's improved a lot fundamentally. It's actually become I think more solid in terms of a project. So I do like seeing that. And if let's say the market sentiment were to return back to where it once was, I feel like now it just has way better fundamentals. So imagine what it could do if the market sentiment went back to where it once was, yet we see these improved fundamentals. If it maybe surpassed what it did before, I don't know if it would surprise me because I don't think it would surprise me. But even besides that point, Onyx, people like to say to me that a lot of people gave up when it comes to this. And I'm sure a lot of people did probably not care about this, but as of right now, with around 146,000 holders, almost 147,000 actually, I just don't think it's a completely forgotten about project. Not to mention, if we take a look at Onyx, it being below a 200 million market cap as of right now is not a concern for me either, because if I'm looking to dollar cost average, what, I'd only like it if it's around a billion in terms of market cap? No, that doesn't make any sense to me, because if my intent is to dollar cost average, my intent is to hypothetically, in some cases, be there before the journey. I'm not trying to chase trends. I'm just trying to hypothetically wait for maybe something. That's it. When Onyx was around a billion in terms of market cap last year, a lot of people were saying, oh, wow, why was it so ignored at below a 200 million market cap at one point? But as of right now, those conditions are literally the case, right? Again, Onyx is below a 200 million market cap, yet a lot of people out there, the ones that said before that they couldn't believe Onyx at one point was below a 200 million market cap, now they see that the project is officially cooked. I mean, how does that kind of make sense personally in my perspective? Because I feel like if anything, Onyx actually became better. It's just the market sentiment hasn't been doing the best. But because Onyx is an altcoin, usually sometimes it does lag behind, especially let's say when compared to in the case of Bitcoin. Sometimes that capital rotation could hypothetically take quite a while. It's not possible for me to know the exact moment Onyx could do something. But with that being said, I don't mind waiting. So I'll gladly wait. Now, some people like to say, well, why don't you pull up a price chart and draw this or draw that? They like to tell me to draw like a falling wedge pattern and stuff like that. But kind of my response is this. If I do that, what is that going to do to Onyx? What is that going to do to the market? Do you think the market's going to care about what I have to draw on a price chart? I don't think so. I can't affect this. I'm just one person. What can I do? No matter what I draw on a price chart, the market doesn't care. It's not like it listens to me. It's not like it asks for my input or anything like that. That simply isn't the case. So what? I draw some random stuff on a price chart just to look cool? Yeah, I'm not going to do that. Personally, for me, I'd rather just believe in the projects that I want to believe in. I stay patient, and that's literally about it. I don't want to chase trends. I'd rather just stay patient with the ones that I already believe in. And I think that way it kind of removes a lot of stress personally for me, because if I'm constantly trying to chase, yeah, I think that's going to stress me out. So I don't want to do that, but I'm not telling anyone to do anything. This is purely my perspective. However, I just want to say thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a very nice day. I'll be sure to make more updates when it comes to Onyx moving forward. So hopefully y'all stay tuned for that. It's been Lee the Camden. I'm out. Peace. Bye.